Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 3 Legend of the Dragon King Part 59 based on novel. So let's start. Blue and green lights interweave together to form a blanket of ice cold mist that spread across the arena, overwhelming the fire and wind element in air and slowing the firestorm's growth. Gu's expression darkened. A soul fusion skill was beyond her expectations. In the next instant, a white radiance appeared in front of her before revealing a giant tree, its icy blue body seemingly condensed of ice yet bursting with vitality. It unfolded right in the center of the firestorm and the two collided together, generating waves of energy that rippled through the air. Though the blazing tornado shredded the leaves from the swaying tree, the fire also dissipated with every torn leaf. At a distance away, Wang Dongqi noticed this scene and immediately disengaged from Xie to dash off the stage. She knew how powerful the Zhu sisters' soul fusion skill was. She took a moment to look Xie in the eye as she ran off and shout, "Hurry up and run!" Xie also felt something was amiss and hurried after her. The two sisters were barely able to use this soul fusion skill with their current cultivation bases, but controlling it was another matter. Wang Dongqi understood this and knew to run. Gu's complexion paled as the flaming tornado dispersed. To the side, the referee desperately yelled, "Stop!" But it was too late to stop it now. Bang! Box 7's glass screen shattered and a white figure instantly flew toward the arena. A similar situation occurred in Box 1, but two figures flew out instead. Yet, no matter how fast they were, it was already too late to stop things. A heavy restraining power pressed down on Gu as the chill gathered around her surroundings. The ground trembled, then split apart as a multitude of glacial blue trees sprouted from the earth. Soul fusion skill, Forest of Ice. In the moment that Gu spent stunned at the sudden change, she was swept off her feet by a pair of powerful arms and soon found herself staring up at the sky. When she looked down, she discovered she was within Tang Wulin's embrace. Icicle after icicle pierced Tang Wulin. These were actually the branches of the trees, but his body was tough and they didn't penetrate through him to harm Gu. Blood blossomed before her eyes, dyeing her vision with crimson. She gazed at Tang Wulin's face. Not a single trace of pain marred his features, only a gentle smile greeted her as his arms continued to firmly hold her away from danger. In that instant the Forest of Ice had appeared. Tang Wulin had slammed his claw at the ground with his claw and broken free of his restraints to lunge at Gu and draw her into his embrace, shielding her with his body as he accepted the onslaught of icicles. "No!" An inhuman shriek of devastation tore out of Gu's throat, her voice on the verge of shattering. 6 elemental lights wildly gathered around her: fire, water, earth, wind, light, and space. A trace of amazement filtered through Tang Wulin's eyes, but he had already lost feeling in his body. His body truly felt no pain, but when he saw Gu like this, a sense of familiarity arose within him. Gu's eyes blazed with fiery wrath, her thirst for blood, for death, rolling off her in waves. "Gu, don't!" Tang Wulin's feeble voice made its way to her ear. Her body trembled as she regained herself. She grabbed Tang Wulin, disappearing in a flash of silver light the instant before the Forest of Ice reached its climax. Tree after tree burst from the ground, though none were as large as the first two and each subsequent tree was smaller than the last. Although the trees were not as tall as the original two, they still released a frigid, penetrating aura. The snow-white figure was the first to land on the stage, but there was nothing to welcome him. Tang Wulin and Gu had just teleported away a moment ago. Zhongzhenpeng was the second to arrive, having moved the moment he noticed the sisters using Forest of Ice. "This is bad. This is just a match. They can't even control the soul fusion skill yet. An accident is bound to happen." Unfortunately, he was a step too late. The soul fusion skill had completed in the end. The sisters collapsed onto the ground, their complexions pale as they gasped for breath. They had overspent themselves using the soul fusion skill. "How could you two use a soul fusion skill?" Zhongzhenpeng reprimanded. "How are you doing? Are your bodies fine?" The two sisters regretted their actions as soon as they unleashed the forest of ice. They realized they still lacked experience. When facing the blazing tornado, they had panicked and mistakenly chose to use their strongest ability. Guilt had plagued them when they saw Tang Wulin's and Gu's wretched states. "Is this how you teach your disciples?" A cold voice stabbed into his back. Zhong Zhenpeng spun around to face a handsome young man dressed in white robes and harboring a demonically cold aura. "Who are you? Why is a youngster like you here?" He was feeling jittery. As the president of Sealand Academy, he had to take responsibility for the trouble his disciples stirred up. He understood just how powerful the Forest of Ice was, and considering the talent the East Sea team had displayed at their age, he knew that the East Sea Academy wouldn't let things go easily. "Fine." Wu Zhongkong didn't bother to explain himself, but his eyes now glinted with a deep blue color. He took a step forward and his Skyfrost sword appeared in his hand. 6 soul rings rose underfoot, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 2 black. White robes and a blue sword, he was as cold as the frozen heavens. Wind raged and howled as his sword slashed forward while the surrounding remaining frigid air converged on his body. His movement seemed gentle, but in that instant, the surrounding forest of ice disintegrated into fine powder. He pointed his Skyfrost sword forward. His 5th soul ring lit up, and a gigantic azure blade materialized in the air. A breath later, 9 swords hovered in the air and the entire stadium seemed to groan under his oppressive might. Even the spectators in the stands could feel the pure chill of those giant swords. Zhong Zhenpeng's face transformed into the very picture of horrific shock the moment he saw Wu Zhongkong's 6 soul rings. Although he also had 6 soul rings, they were 2 yellow and 4 purple. He could not be more clear on how wide the gap was between him and a soul emperor with black soul rings. The 9 swords arrayed themselves to form a deadly wheel in the air. Without giving him time to argue, the wheel spun, aiming for Zhong Zhenpeng. While Tang Wulin and Gu's fates were unknown, Wu Zhongkong found himself acting upon his rage. His fury made him both sharper and colder than before. The very atmosphere around him seemed to freeze. Zhong Zhenpeng was completely unable to explain himself under Wu Zhongkong's pressure, so he directly summoned his martial soul in defense. A pair of giant wings unfurled behind him, so majestic it took one's breath away. He raised his hands to the sky and called forth a ball of lightning and radiant light that struck the wheel array of swords spinning toward him. Bang! Although they were both soul emperors, this first clash told the difference between them. A violent boom resounded as the ball of lightning dispersed and the 9 swords continued onward as if nothing had obstructed them. They reached Zhong Zhenpeng in the blink of an eye. Zhong Zhenpeng knew that he was weaker than his opponent, but he had never imagined that the chasm would be so wide. An explosive cry rang out as he activated his 5th soul skill and a bird of lightning flew out to meet the wheel of ice. His martial soul was the Thunder Peng and was definitely considered powerful. Unfortunately, his opponent was Wu Zhongkong of the Frozen Heavens. This was a furious Wu Zhongkong. Sun with rays. Off stage. In another flash of silver, Gu appeared with Tang Wulin in her arms. His body was riddled with holes. Most concentrated around his upper body and his right thigh. For an ordinary person, these wounds were definitely fatal. Gu gritted her teeth as she tightly hugged Tang Wulin, a golden light suddenly bursting from her body and enveloping the two of them. A few moments later it quickly transformed into a cocoon of light, cutting them off from the outside world. A draconic roar blasted through the air. The moment the lightning bird met with the Wheel of Swords, an azure dragon's form manifested. Its figure complemented that of the blue lightning bird as the two acted in concert. Long Huanqian arrived at Zhong Zhenpeng's side. Although the two were rivals, they were still old friends. It was natural to assist one another in times of crisis. During the event, an ear-piercing alarm thundered through the background. Considering the scale of the Sky Sea Alliance tournament, few would dare cause a ruckus and pit themselves against the entire Sky Sea Alliance. 9 booms rumbled in succession, each followed by an engulfing wave of frost spreading out to all 4 corners of the stadium. The remaining spectators shivered in this cold. For a hairbreadth of a moment, a strange luster gripped the sky, elemental energy fluctuating chaotically in the stadium. So powerful. All of the spectators were dumbstruck as they watched the scene unfold. This was a clash between three powerhouses, each with 6 rings. Calling it incredible would be an understatement. Wu Zhongkong stood steadfast as he observed the clash before him with calm eyes. He was unmoved as the elemental shockwave sent his robes billowing. Long Huanqian and Zhong Zhenpeng both retreated 10 steps, their expressions as dark as stormy skies. While the former was slightly pale, traces of blood painted the latter's mouth red. Long Huanqian roared in indignation, "Where did you come from? How dare you cause trouble at the Sky-Sea Alliance tournament?" Wu Zhongkong stared at them without speaking a word, his gaze cold enough to freeze. The Sky-Frost sword shined brilliantly in his hands while a ferocious aura exploded from his form. All 6 of his soul rings lit up. Although the 3 soul masters each had 6 rings, Long Huanqian and Zhong Zhenpeng felt suppressed with Wu Zhongkong facing against them. Their bodies stiffened, their soul power circulation became erratic. The two were overwhelmed with horror. Wu Zhongkong had yet to breach 30 years of age, yet he had 2 black soul rings. Their expressions soured at the thought of battling him. 2 people had been paying attention to this match since the start, Xu Lixi and Yi Xinglan. Xu Lixi's voice wavered with anxiety. "Tang Wulin should be fine, right?" "Yeah, he's fine." "Big Sis Xinglan, he's fine, right?" Yi Xinglan's eyes were dull. She had come to watch Class Zero's match today in order to scout out GUU in preparation for their promised battle. After all, only by knowing both oneself and one's enemy could one emerge victorious. However, she had never expected the battle to play out this way. As a spectator, she had been able to see Tang Wulin shield GUU in the final moments of the Forest of Ice, with his own body nonetheless. He never released her even as the branches penetrated him. That scene touched her heart. They were young boys and girls, so such pure actions in that time of crisis moved her easily. In that instant, all her grudges against Tang Wulin were vanquished, his position elevating in her heart. This was the first time she had seen someone sacrificing so much for another. His body was riddled with holes. Any of those injuries could be fatal. He was also wounded severely in our battle a few days ago. Maybe he is? Yi Xinglan didn't answer Xu Lixi. She herself didn't know what sort of answer to give. She sighed within her heart. There was nothing that she could do. That man with the blue sword should be his teacher. Wu Zhongkong did not press his assault. While utilizing his domineering aura to stifle Long Huanqian and Zhong Zhenpeng, he descended to Tang Wulin and GUU's side. He examined their state, a frown soon crossing his face. Life emanated from the golden cocoon. He could not determine what was happening within, but Wu Zhongkong could sense 2 life forces, proof that the 2 survived intact. All of a sudden, giant figures swooped down from the sky. Upon sight of these figures, Long Huanqian let out a breath of relief. Xie looked up at the new arrivals, shock spreading gradually across his face. A squadron of 20 mechas, each 10 meters in height, appeared. The lead mecha was painted a regal purple, its entire body emanating strength. At its posterior trailed 4 yellow mechas, with 15 white ones following behind those. Despite the similar size of all the mechas, the energy fluctuations they emitted were of entirely different scales. The combined strengths of the mechas at the rear couldn't hold a candle to the purple one's might. Mechas were classified the same way as soul rings and spirit souls are. White mechas were the most basic. As such, they were used for training. They had limited movement capabilities coupled with a minimal energy pool, giving rise to short operation times. Furthermore, they could not be operated with soul power or spirit souls, and were controlled manually. These units filled the ranks of city guards. They were essential for maintaining public order, and even ordinary people could handle them. The military's standard model were yellow mechas. Its mobility surpassed the white model, and it had a decent energy pool to operate on. It could run on both energy and soul power, with the option to utilize spirit souls. Like white mechas, they were also controlled by manually. Near the top of the hierarchy were the high-performance and custom purple mechas. These were designed and crafted with the future pilot's martial soul in mind. Therefore, its mobility was incredible, the mecha more in tune with its pilot. At this level, the fusion between the mecha and the martial soul went deep. For these reasons, this model was known as a personal mecha. That being said, even at this level, they were operated manually. Black mechas were also called super mechas and were in a league of their own. They were made of special materials, had unique designs, and were crafted through difficult methods. At this level, the fusion between the spirit soul and the mecha was perfect. Such an integration created an illusion as though the mecha was an extension of one's body. Each super mecha was paired with a single pilot. If the pilot died, then the mecha would forever stay unoperated. In order to pilot a super mecha, one needed to be at least a soul emperor. Their spiritual power must also be at the Sprit Sea realm. These mechas could be controlled by the mind to an extent, but they required more skill to operate. Finally, red mechas were the cream of the crop, considered to be at the divine level. For its successful creation, these mechas had to be crafted personally. Apart from using top-grade materials forged by a first-rate blacksmith, one's essence and martial soul had to fuse with the materials perfectly. The result was an existence that could be deemed one thing, alive. A mecha could only be judged as of the divine level if it possessed a degree of sentience. With such a godly machine, the spirit soul could dissolve into it practically. Only with a red mecha could a mecha pilot fight on equal terms with a battle armor master. However, creating a red mecha was as difficult as crafting battle armor. Thus, red mechas were rarer than battle armor masters. Naturally, when facing a powerful battle armor master, not even a red mecha could close the gap. The 20 mechas surrounded Wu Zhongkong. The white mechas were all equipped with 3-meter-long soul cannons, aimed right at his body. The purple mecha flew over to him. Beside matching a soul emperor in combat strength, purple mecha also had a larger energy reserve. One of these machines was more than enough to suppress a soul emperor. Seeing the arrival of these mechas, Long Huanqian was convinced that the situation would be brought under control. Yet, not everyone was of the same opinion. Xin Yi, who had arrived but chose to stay off stage, was a prime example. Gazing at the levitating Wu Zhongkong, Xin Yi couldn't help but mutter to herself, "Those fools. Now they are just provoking him. Don't they know that the calmer a person is, the more terrifying their wrath?" In that instant, Wu Zhongkong raised his head, sweeping his eyes over his Skyfrost sword as he spit out 2 words. Sky. Ice. Hearing those 2 words, Xin Yi trembled even as her eyes widened. Yet, in their evergreen depths sparked a trace of excitement. It had been ages since she had last seen Wu Zhongkong, and even longer since she had witnessed sky ice. A bright radiance enveloped Wu Zhongkong's body as his Skyfrost sword also flashed with a brilliant light and instantly fused with his body. The expressions of the surrounding mecha pilots changed when they saw their target vanish. "He's over there," someone shouted, and they all looked to the sky. Wu Zhongkong had ascended higher. His classic white robes were gone. Instead, shining white lights glowed from his forehead, shoulders, chest, elbows, wrists, hands, hips, knees, and feet. Silver threads woven through the lights formed an intricate design, drawing strength to him, and it soon overflowed into his aura. A sky-blue crystal droplet materialized from the radiance around his forehead, followed by a band of white that circled his head as the droplet's support. 5 snowflake-like tips rose from the top of the band to form a crown, while the elegant silver thread design solidified until it exuded an aura of magnificence. 2 white metal bands ran down from either side of the crown past his ears to cradle his cheeks, their very appearance like streams of cold air. The rest of his armor, starting from his neck, manifested after that. Wu Zhongkong was clad in a sparkling suit of armor at the end of the transformation, his attire dyed in a brilliant white and highlighted with silver. His body was bathed in luminescence, his eyes the most sparkling of sapphires. The 6 soul rings were absorbed into his armor, and in his hands appeared a sword about 1.5 meters in length. This was the Sky Ice Skyfrost sword. Both the hilt and the blade were pure white. However, while the hilt's tip resembled a snowflake, the blade's edge flaunted a crystalline blue hue. Although Wu Zhongkong's looks were originally on another level, now that he wore brilliant armor that accentuated his features, he transformed into a graceful white knight. Xin Yi's eyes sparkled as she took in his splendor. Now this is the real him. Sky Ice Wu Zhongkong is back. Battle armor. Long Huantian and Zhong Zhenpeng cried out in unison. At this realization, the mechas that were about to attack froze suddenly. Some of the lesser white mechas even began to lay down their cannons. A battle armor master. He's actually a battle armor master. If Tang Wulin was conscious then, he would definitely be the most excited person around. He had always been yearning to see battle armor in action. As Wu Zhongkong pointed his sword downward, his aura continued to surge with power. It had been ages since he last spoke the two words, Sky Ice. Bitter pain erupted from within the depths of his deep blue eyes. Just like mechas, battle armors had their own rankings. However, this particular ranking system was strange. At its core, a suit of battle armor was similar to a super mecha. This was because both were forged personally by a soul master and acted as an extension of and became a major component of the user's strength. A battle armor master would be 20 soul ranks stronger than any soul master of the same soul power rank. If a soul master had 5 rings and equipped a 1-word battle armor, his strength would be equivalent to that of a 7-ringed soul master. A 2-word battle armor master could match a soul master with 8 rings, and so forth. Battle armor was divided into 4 levels. With each increase in level, another word would be added to the battle armor's name. 1-word battle armor, every piece of armor was made of 1,000 refined metal and required 5 rings minimum to use. 2-word battle armor, every piece of armor was made of spirit refined metal and required 6 rings minimum to use. 3-word battle armor, every piece of armor was made of soul refined metal and required 7 rings minimum to use. 4-word battle armor, every piece of armor was made of divine refined metal and required 9 rings minimum to use. When Wu Zhongkong was a 1-word battle armor master, he named his battle armor Ice. It was customary to add the name of one's battle armor to one's own. Therefore, he was called Ice Wu Zhongkong in the world of soul masters at that period of his life. Later on, he expended much time and effort to upgrade his battle armor to 2-word. After his success, he stitched on the word Sky from his Skyfrost sword, amending his battle armor's name to Sky Ice. Thus, he became Sky Ice Wu Zhongkong. The Sky originated from his Skyfrost sword while the Ice came from the name of his beloved. He did not use his battle armor lightly, he feared the intense longing for her that would come with it. Though he wished to follow her into the next life, he could not until he fulfilled their promise. Battle armor masters held a supreme position throughout the entire continent. Even government officials would withdraw from any disputes involving one of them. In the end, they would be forced to call in another battle armor master aligned with the government to settle the problem. Indeed, only a battle armor master could face another battle armor master. On the Dolor continent, they were the most regal of existences. The reason Shrek Academy still held onto so much power and influence was precisely because it possessed the strongest battle armor master force. Mecha pilots couldn't hope to compare with them. Even if there was a rarely seen black mecha, its pilot would still treat Wu Zhongkong with the utmost courtesy. Now equipped with Sky Ice, Wu Zhongkong's strength soared to match that of an 8-ringed expert. You have harmed my disciple. If he sustains any lasting wounds, then you will pay with your life. Wu Zhongkong's icy voice was quiet, but each word was clear to everyone present. He directed a domineering gaze at Zhong Zhenpeng. His target wasn't the 2 Jew sisters, they were children after all. No, to feed without teaching was the father's fault, to teach without severity was the teacher's laziness. The one he begrudged was their teacher. When Zhong Zhenpeng had questioned him in that belittling manner, his fury had been fanned like a rising flame. Zhong Zhenpeng paled in front of Wu Zhongkong. A 2-word battle armor master. He's actually a 2-word battle armor master. Disregarding Zhong Zhenpeng, there wasn't a single person in Sealand City that would dare offend someone of this stature. Battle armor masters were the most powerful and unwavering of soul masters. Compared to building a mecha, it was 10 times harder to craft a battle armor of the same level. Considering how young Wu Zhongkong was, and the fact that he was already a 2-word battle armor master, his prospects were boundless. It was likely he would one day stand at the continent summit. A sudden tremble ran through Wu Zhongkong's body. His sword began to buzz as his battle armor erupted with silvery light all of a sudden. It was dazzling even in the bright of day. All of the mechas took defensive maneuvers while Long Huantian and Zhong Shenpeng were simply overwhelmed with shock. Is he actually attacking? In the blink of an eye, Shen Yi ascended into the skies. Viridian wafts flowed around her while strands of white hair floated behind. The green streams of air soon transformed into symbols branding her body, then metamorphosed into light similar to those that had covered Wu Zhongkong. The only difference was their color. These spots of radiance were green. A halo of emerald light spiraled around her body, like a vine climbing a pole. A breath later, she was clad in green armor with viridian highlights. It was another battle armor. There were clear differences between the two battle armors. Whereas Wu Zhongkong's was sleek, hers was embedded with leaves that spun outward. Wu Zhongkong's battle armor's folds were short but Shen Yi's skirt reached past her thighs. It exuded a more feminine allure. In her hand sat a moss-toned whip. An emerald bead bursting with vitality was embedded at the tip. The entire set of armor breathed with life, dispelling the chill in the stadium instantly. "Zhongkong, stop!" Shen Yi ordered. Despite the fact that battle armor masters were supreme existences, they still had their own hierarchy. One would be disciplined if one blundered. In some aspects, the greater one's strength, the greater the restrictions. Shen Yi was about to restrain Wu Zhongkong, but after realizing something, she paused in midair. She thrusted out her arms, unleashing a tyrannical aura that rendered all the present mecha pilots and soul masters motionless. As the silver halation around Wu Zhongkong receded into his body, a black soul ring appeared underneath him. It expanded, fusing swiftly with his battle armor. A look of helplessness crossed her face. She was at a loss for words. "I can't believe this guy. He just suddenly had a breakthrough." Wu Zhongkong was no longer a soul emperor, but a soul sage. "Congratulations, Zhongkong." Shen Yi flew over to his side carrying these heartfelt words. Despite his breakthrough, he wore an expression devoid of joy. In that instant, he noticed that the golden cocoon of light, which encased his two disciples, was dimming. He dropped down in a flash, landing right beside them. Finally, the two's forms grew clear. Gu sat on the ground, eyes closed and pale-faced as if she was drained of blood. Only the barest whispers of life lingered on her. Tang Wulin was still soaked in blood, but the enormous wounds covering him like a gruesome blanket were already healed. While his breath and pulse were weak, they both persisted at a steady pace. "Wow! These brats sure know how to surprise people," Shen Yi muttered to herself. With a wave of a hand, her body lit up with a green glow. Two lights that resembled leafy plants flew toward Tang Wulin and Gu, merging with the children. Wu Zhongkong's tension eased once he saw that his two disciples were fine. Tilting up his head, he met Shen Yi's gaze. "You specialize in treatment, how are they right now?" She directed a strange look at him. The boy was heavily wounded and his organs were crushed, a fatal injury for an ordinary person. But as you can see, his heart wasn't touched. However, he took the full brunt of a soul fusion skill and should by all means be dead now. Somehow, he's still clinging onto life tenaciously. That's the first thing that I can't make sense of. The next is this girl. She's truly brave, she used her life's light to heal him. Light is the purest and brightest element, after all. It is filled with life at its core. The greatest source of vitality one can draw upon is one's life's light, and this girl had mustered hers. She ignited her own life force in order to heal the boy. His wounds and damaged organs have already been restored. You're really living up to Shrek's name by raising these little monsters. Wu Zhongkong furrowed his brows. Just tell me, will this affect them in the future? Shen Yi said, I don't know. I'll have to examine them once they've recovered fully. Since they have overexerted themselves, it will take some time. How about this, I'll go back with you and look after these two children until they are healed. Thank you. Wu Zhongkong nodded appreciatively. He took Tang Wulin into his arms, treating him as a fragile object. A layer of azure light radiated from his sky ice battle armor, sheltering them from the outside world. After gesturing with his head at Xie Xie and Xu Xiaoyuan, he left with large strides. Shen Yi picked up Ji Yu and followed. As they exited the stadium, they paid no mind to the spectators or the two academy presidents, Long Huanqian and Zhong Zhengpeng. Even so, no one dared to obstruct them. Sun with rays. Away from the arena, Mu Chen stood with his hands folded behind his back, dark clouds practically completing his image. Duan Xian stood at his side. Considering his status as the president of East Sea's Blacksmiths Association, he shouldn't have made an appearance. His place was in the boxes with Duan Xian. However, when he had seen Tang Wulin receiving such grievous injuries, it felt like a dagger stabbing into his heart. His martial soul did not excel in speed, and as such, he had lagged behind Wu Zhongkong. Duan Xian had restrained him, warning him not to act impulsively. Soon after, Wu Zhongkong displayed his godly might, much to Mu Chen's delight. It was also his first time seeing how formidable Tang Wulin's soul master teacher was. Although Mu Chen was powerful in his own right, he hadn't expected this unassuming school teacher to exceed him. With Wu Zhongkong's appearance, Mu Chen no longer felt the need to act. Sure enough, Wu Zhongkong revealed his battle armor, suppressing everyone with unadulterated power. In the end, the threat of his might was enough, and he left with Tang Wulin in his arms as if he was taking a stroll. From such a display, Mu Chen knew that Tang Wulin's safety was preserved. "Teacher, let's go take a look," Mu Chen said. Duan Xian's eyes didn't leave Shen Yi as he said, "No matter what the situation is, don't act impetuously. The child should be relatively fine, otherwise, there's no way that Battle Armor Master would leave things like this. Your disciple sure is great. He actually has a Battle Armor Master for a teacher." Mu Chen smiled bitterly. "This is the first time I've seen his teacher too. I didn't expect it would be under such circumstances. I hope none of the injuries are permanent." A sigh escaped Duan Xian's lips. "Hurry up and go. If you need anything, just tell me." Sun with rays. Tang Wulin felt as if a deep, deep sleep was calling out to him, tempting him to lie in its embrace. Regaining consciousness, he opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Ji Yu's tear-stricken face. Following that, a boundless golden light enveloped them like a cocoon. His body still felt cold and numb after being impaled by numerous icicles. The chill had nearly frozen his blood over. The only thing that stood in between him and death was his throbbing heart. Shielding Ji Yu with his body had been instinctual. In spite of that, during the event his mind had operated at max speed. He had activated the purple demon eyes, barely able to avoid the incoming icicles stabbing his heart. The chilling numbness that engulfed his body allowed him to disregard the damage he had sustained. Yet, he had felt his life slipping away, his mind growing dim. Swathed in that golden world, the cold receded bit by bit, replaced with a pleasant warmth. Blanketed in this comfortable feeling, he lost consciousness. Sun with rays. It's been 3 days. 3 whole days. Wu Zhongkong sat by the bedside, watching his 2 sleeping disciples. Both had yet to awake and had been sleeping soundly the entire time. Although their complexions were still pale, their breathing and heartbeats had improved. Shen Yi determined that there would be no lasting effects and cleared them for natural recovery. Afterward, she departed. There were still many things to attend to at Shrek Academy. Tarrying for so long was already pushing the limit. According to Shen Yi, Tang Wulin's self-healing ability was extraordinary. Despite receiving such grave injuries, his damaged viscera were healed by life's curing light. He could now leave it to his body to do the rest. Surviving was certain for him. That being said, it was unknown whether his cultivation would be affected. Only time would tell. Wu Zhongkong, however, was confident in his disciple. He still recalled the root of Tang Wulin's unfathomable healing ability, his bloodline. This video will end here.